All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. It's Scott with Zenby AI, and I'm here with Erin Hybart, and we are going to talk about ADUs and tiny homes because she is the expert on those. Erin, I guess we'll start from the beginning. How did you get into real estate?
I got in, honestly, Scott, because I had to. Our family had a financial need for me to have a second job, and real estate just fit. Like, since I've been probably 10 or 12 years old, one of my, I guess, nerdy passions has been looking at house plans, designing houses for fun, flipping houses, helping other people buy houses, not as an agent, but just as a friend. And then I was passing a sign one night and it was a career night. So I popped in and here I am.
Awesome. So, how did it start with you getting clients? Was it just through friends, or what was that process look like?
So I will say I was at a disadvantage because I had moved to this area from a city probably an hour and a half away. So my sphere was all the way, back where I lived. So I had to get creative. I knew a couple people here. It wasn't a focus to just have this thriving friendship ring. So I actually started a Facebook group that was local to our city and started sharing just anything related to our city. So job listings, all positive related, right? And just started collecting people and making relationships like that. That has been a huge source of my business, just meeting people through that way. And then, sometimes just, in the supermarket kind of thing or someone's referral, I worked with a family member. So it really helped me plug in and get my face and name out there. So like I'll get a lot of people that recognize me and they start talking to me like we just, went are best friends. And I'm like, who are you? I don't know you. I'm sorry. And all to realize that I've been chatting with them in some capacity online already. And I just didn't, put two and two together. So it's been huge. I think just associating my name with positive and promoting the city, the small businesses, the residents, the good stuff, right? Because there's lots of groups that promote the not good stuff, but just strictly kind of protecting the good stuff to promote and being helpful, being a resource. If your dog needs its toenails cut, give me a call. I'll help you out. So just anything, being open to asking or answering just any question from people.
Is that how you are still getting clients, or is there a different way you've been able to build up your network?
I still get a lot of business there. It may not be directly from the group, but we connect on social media in some capacity. And it's usually, that's how it starts. Other ways, it could just be sign calls. I don't get a ton of those. I do tend to send those out just because my schedule is a little busier. And so I just partner with really good agents, to work those sign calls. If I'm dual agent, I send those out too. I don't typically do dual agency. It's legal here, but I make a choice not to. But Facebook, I say Facebook, I guess, I don't want to say the Instagram or the other stuff. I don't do those. Just Facebook's working for me and I've been blessed. It's been a good resource.
So, talk to us about ADUs and tiny homes and why you're so passionate about this.
So it's very frustrating when you've got clients that want smaller living spaces or they need a space that's more affordable. And we just don't have anything available. Sometimes they don't want to live in a condo or in a community, that close. And they just, funds are limited. They can only qualify for so much. And what their money can buy them, they don't feel either safe or that they're going to be their best self in. And so seeing this frustration with people and just knowing how much having a place to come home to each night that you feel safe and you can thrive in is so important, that seeing these smaller living spaces, just the lack of them, kind of that middle, we have a huge population. We don't have housing for them, singles, couples, retirees, young adults that aren't in that, I guess, capacity that they want this big house. And just the amount of people that want to downsize, ensuring these houses that are 2,000 or 3,000 square feet, it's become astronomical and a very big burden. So just that alone, I'm watching people, they're thirsty for this option and it's just not there. So I kind of just plugged in a couple things that I've always loved the appreciation for smaller spaces. And I guess knowing the amazing time that I had in them when I resided in smaller spaces, knowing that other people could experience that if they just had the option is huge. And so if we can help promote it and advocate for it, then we will be doing just a huge service to this underserved population.
So you mentioned about promoting, advocating for that. Obviously, you do that through your website. Is that the best way to do that, or have you found any other ways to?
So I was hesitant to start into YouTube just because of all the different things. People are like, I don't want to be on video. And then I did it. People need to see me. They need to experience me. Obviously, I can't reach everyone in the whole world in person. So I jumped into YouTube and actually broke it up into two different channels. So that has been huge to reach people. It's still pretty much in its infancy in the channel, age, but I have a lot of content planned, and I'm getting really good feedback from people that are watching the videos, and they're asking questions. They're anxious for these options. They want to know where they can find, smaller housing, and um or sometimes calling my personal cell phone. I don't know how they're getting the number, but they're calling me and they're like, please help me. I'm in New York or New Jersey or California. They're desperate, and they are just waiting, patiently or maybe impatiently for these other options in real estate to kind of cater to their needs and their life as they are in their stage, the stage they're in.
Right. So let's say someone's not patient. I get that. What if someone is patient? Is there a process to follow up with them or kind of stay in touch with them if they're ready to buy, let's say, in 6 months from now?
So for me personally, that'll be some systems, right? Like I've got to create just wouldn't say the newsletter, but different ways where I can, reach out to people, plugging them into a CRM and making sure I track them and kind of, I would say, categorize and tag them appropriately. So if I need to find everyone in New Jersey or New York, quickly, then you've got to have a system in place to find those persons or someone looking for this specific property versus, something different. Yeah, the right systems, the right kind of AI is plugging into that as well. I'm embracing it. I'm seeing such a huge benefit. It's amazing how fast people are scaling with when they plug in that technology.
Right. Yeah. Do you have any examples of that? Maybe other realtors, what you've seen? Because when I talk to realtors, a lot of them will say like, I use it to write not job, a house description or a listing, but some are hesitant to use it for other purposes. And I've advocated like the ones that jump on board now are the ones that are going to have success down the road. What have you seen AI being most helpful to you as?
I get AI to do a lot, write scripts for the videos, write articles to just make my emails better. Besides, the listing descriptions, and sometimes just to make things succinct and not, rambling, and things that if I have to maybe gear my language toward a certain population or niche, sometimes you have to take a minute to get in that mindset, and AI just does it. If I'm trying to tailor something toward a population of people 60 and over versus 30 and under, those are very different. They need different things. AI is huge in that. And coming up with titles, thumbnails, I feel like I just talk to this AI like it's a friend, like I'm just hanging out with them. And it's so funny. I use it in personal life too, not just business, but it is so helpful for so many different things. It's scary almost.
It is, and it's the way it's evolving is pretty crazy because questions I may have asked 6 months ago, it's a little iffy, and now I go, "Oh, wow, that's really smart and dialed in."
Yeah.
You had mentioned about content and video and whatnot. How are you coming up with content? Like, how do you come up with the ideas and putting it all together?
So for the website, I won't get too much into the entire process, but sometimes just coming up with those ideas, and using AI to kind of come up with ideas that would appeal and that can be used on different platforms, or, this would make really good content written and video. And how can I take this written and turn it into a video or something similar? But, usually getting it to write scripts once I find my target question or keyword or whatnot. And sometimes it just comes up with questions. It's like, okay, this is who you are. What are you curious about? Give me a bunch of questions that you would be wondering about this topic. And what would you be searching? What search strings would you be putting in, and the different variations, and, the different things that would make you click this versus this, and just kind of going down rabbit holes. AI is really fun to go down rabbit holes with, so that you can hopefully reach as many people and give them what they need. Exactly, just what they're looking for, the answer to their query, I guess.
Do you ever look at what's done well and try to figure out the algorithm behind it? Like, why did this video do so well? Why did this post do so well?
So I'll do that on my own. I haven't used AI to help me with it, but I have gone to competitor videos and just copied their scripts and thrown it into Chat GPT and said, hey, make me a bullet point of what this video is about. Here's my script. What can I add from theirs? Give me some ideas. If you even see some new video ideas, let me know that those different things. So I think just using it in that capacity. I mean, I've given it my script and the URL of a video or article, and I'm like, what do you think I can do better if you're trying to rank for this or appeal to this? Or is it answering the query? Is there a good call to action? Whatever I think I'm lacking or maybe I'm short-sighted on that I'm not as strong in, I plug AI in and because mine's a he. I got a guy one apparently. I don't know how I did that, but I got a guy one. I don't think he's like British and he's really helpful.
So you talked a little bit about the content. Do you use any tools to kind of automate, whether it's like responding to emails or to DMs or anything like that? Or are you just still in charge of it all?
I'm still in charge of it all, which probably definitely explains if someone sends me a message, it may be a week later that I respond. And I have not really discovered the tool that I want to use yet, only because I haven't had time to stop and research it and say, okay, what is this? What is the cost? Is this efficient? I want to make sure it doesn't duplicate something else I already have. But so far, so good. But I am seeing the need to have something in place, and it can't be a person, on the payroll, not yet. So I've got to have some kind of automation where at least we don't leave them hanging, kind of thing. I may not have the answer to their question, but it's like, hey, I got your question. I'm here. I'll get with you, and then put it on a task list so I can do that task in the future.
Yeah, that was my follow-up. Is if you could wave a magic wand and automate one part of your business, would that be it?
I think so. Yes. Just like collect these people. What do they need? Put them on a list, even if it can't answer the question, but just kind of prioritize it and see, what am I looking at? Take the madness and make it less crazy.
So how long have you been focusing on ADUs right now?
Couple years where I've actually been creating content. I mean, I've always been passionate about the niche and involved in groups and stuff, building some tiny home spots in Baton Rouge for homeless persons and just researching it, visiting communities in my spare time, but actually creating content a few years.
So what's your vision for the business, let's say over the next 3 to 5 years?
I have a lot of visions. I have many goals, should I say that. Still producing content for people. I think just bringing awareness to the niche, dispelling some of the rumors and myths, showing people, what living smaller can bring them, helping advocate to builders, legislators to help loosen some of the rules about smaller living structures. So hopefully just impacting that positively in some capacity. And I think just promoting and providing education and just, content to others so that they're like, what's this tiny home thing? You can put that in your backyard. Well, I've got, I want to put my parents close. I didn't realize you could do that, and kind of helping them on their journey. So I think just promoting the niche in whatever way, kind of the path kind of leads.
I think you do a good job of it on your website. You had mentioned about kind of the myths. What do you think are the myths around tiny homes or ADUs?
The myths come because there's so much gray area in just the definition of what is a tiny home, what is a tiny house. Some of the myths, I think people think that these structures, that they're always on wheels. You can't have them in your backyard. And real people don't live, it's just a fad. You might live a year and you want to just travel the world and hang out on the beach in the morning and, work as little as possible. And in reality, these homes are jam packed with function. That's the really, really cool part, is watching these houses almost transform into what you need when you need it, and being able to show people that, I guess, that creativity, that's a really cool part, because people are coming up with new stuff every day, and beds are coming down from the ceiling and tables are coming up from the floor. It's just wild to see the creativity. So yeah, hopefully I know it's going to catch on. It's not a fad. It's definitely not just a trend anymore.
I agree. It seems like it kind of spiked during COVID, and I know there's a handful of shows out there like Tiny Home Hunters and all the other shows where they show the process of building it out. Well, like, hey, I'm going to stay here for a few weeks. I'm going to move my house here, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
What is like, is there a target demographic or is it all over the place of people that want to do this?
I'm going to say it's all over the place. Now, a lot of people that are embracing it are people who are retiring. My focus is on that 55 and older kind of retiree downsizer population, or just kind of people that need, I guess, a landing spot for a while that is smaller, until they're, if they ever want to get into a bigger home. But there's a lot of retirees that are embracing it, surprisingly. And that's actually, if you look at the demographics of the videos, it's like the perfect demographic that's watching my videos. Like I couldn't have planned it any better. So I think that speaks, to the content, because there's only a couple videos on one of the channels, and I'm like, okay, well, I've got the female population over 55 right here watching me. Um, and there's a lot of people, embracing smaller structures in general.
Right. You had mentioned earlier just about sometimes it's cost prohibitive to own a big house.
Mhm.
How do ADUs or tiny homes compare to someone that's lived in a single family 3,000 square foot home?
Well, for an ADU, there's some people that want to put an ADU, they just need a rental, maybe to offset that mortgage for that big house. Sometimes they live in it and maybe rent out the main house or put a loved one or something. So it serves a very different purpose for different people. But living, when you go from a 2,500 square foot house to a, let's say, 500 square foot house, there's certain things that happen. And I can speak to this because I lived in a couple different small spaces over the years. And some of the things that have happened, because we actually lived in a camper after a hurricane with four adults, three kids, one of which that was like under 1 years old. So, babies come with tons of stuff. We had surprisingly got along really well in that small space. We had to get along. We had to work together, got closer. We had a lot more connection. We hung out outside more, and it surprisingly worked. And it was the best time that we've ever had as a family, because typically it's not like that in our past house, even their current house. Everyone's just kind of on their own, kind of an island. And that year in that camper, we just had the best time. I mean, not that we just lived in a campground and could go fishing in the afternoons, but we got creative. If there was an issue, like, hey, Dad, you're really noisy in the morning with the coffee pot. What can we do to fix that? We come up with a solution versus just ignoring it or not even knowing that he was up in the morning. And so just that interpersonal communication and relationships got strengthened, besides just having to get creative with storage and, the clothes and all the baby stuff. So I think it gives people, they definitely appreciate what they have or what they can store or keep in their space. And there's a lot more connection. That's the theme behind the channels and why I keep the word connection in the website and the channels, because connection is everything to each other, our stuff, nature, our purpose, finances. We need that connection. And we are so disconnected, even though we are connected in 2025, that it's sad to see. And so I truly believe that people thrive in small spaces once they can kind of get over those hurdles of the stuff that you can't take with you. Because in the end, it's probably not important, right? We've seen people in this area, we have floods more often and hurricanes and stuff. And in a couple of minutes, you lose everything. What are you going to replace? And when it gets down to it, the stuff you replace is not probably the stuff you thought you needed. That stuff we couldn't hold on to. And I don't want to get rid of, all of my really good Magnolite pots, but, or just, you just have all this stuff, right? Our stuff weighs us down. It clutters our lives. It makes us anxious, and it costs money, right?
That was very well put, because I think a lot of people have the reservation of, I'm going to move my family into this place and we're going to kill each other or whatever. But it was the opposite. So I think that was well put. So thanks for saying that.
Yes, it was surprisingly.
Yeah, no, I mean, the fact that you've lived through it and now that you love it so much, you advocate for it. Obviously, it meant a lot to
Yes, yes.
well, it's a good place to end. I would just say if people want to find out more about you or connect with you, what would be the best way to do that?
So I've got two channels, the ADU Connection and then the Tiny Home Connection on YouTube. And then the website is reerin.com. That kind of blends in both of the niches. And I'm putting out content everywhere, as many places as I can, focused on those two kind of sectors. But I just love smaller spaces. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Erin.
Thank you.